You grab your smartphone and swipe to the weather widget. The screen tells you it might drizzle at 3 o'clock. You decide to bring an umbrella just to be safe. Modern life is a luxury of predictable outcomes. But imagine standing in a dry field 3,000 years ago. Your children are hungry. The soil is cracked and dusty. If the rain does not fall soon, everyone you love will suffer. There are no Doppler radars in the sky. There are no satellites whispering to your pocket. You only have the clouds and your own sharp eyes. Our ancestors lived in a world of high-stakes atmospheric monitoring. If your brain is already buzzing with questions, welcome to the ancient why. Hit subscribe now to keep exploring our forgotten human history. Because understanding how we survived the sky explains why we act today. How did they know when the storm was coming? The answer might change how you look at the clouds forever. Long before computers, early tribes turned the sky into a massive data board. In Babylonia, 600 years before our Common Era scribes watched the moon. They didn't just see a silver disk in the night. They looked for halos circling the sun or moon like ghostly rings. To a Babylonian astronomer, a halo meant rain was imminent. They carved these observations into permanent clay tablets for future generations. This is why you feel a strange sense of doom before a storm. Your brain is scanning for environmental shifts just like they did. Across the world, ancient Chinese farmers were doing the same thing. They developed the 24 solar terms over 3 millennia ago. It was a calendar based entirely on the position of the sun. It told them exactly when grain rain or great cold would arrive. They turned the orbit of our planet into a survival manual. In ancient India, scholars like Varahamihira documented the colors of clouds. They believed the wind direction held the secrets of the next harvest. They practiced astrometeorology to protect their food supplies. Meanwhile, in the Americas, the Maya were building mountains into clocks. They used specific peaks as solar observatories to track the seasons. By watching where the sun rose, they created a perfect agricultural calendar. They even accounted for leap years without having a single digital clock. Think about that next time you struggle to set your microwave timer. Our ancestors were brilliant scientists who treated the horizon like a laboratory. But the sky wasn't their only source of information. They also looked down at the creatures living right beside them. Animals have a biological requirement to sense the weather before it hits. If a bird gets caught in a hurricane, it likely dies. Therefore, early tribes watched the birds very closely. Many birds and bees can sense a drop in barometric pressure. When the air gets thin before a storm, they fly much lower. They seek the denser air near the ground to stay stable. If you see the birds disappearing, it is time to seek shelter. Some migratory birds can even hear the low rumble of distant storms. They hear infrasound from ocean waves hundreds of miles away. This allows them to redirect their flight paths before the danger arrives. It is like they have a built-in radio tuned to the Earth's frequency. Even the humble pine cone is a high-tech survival tool. In dry weather, pine cones open up to let their seeds fly. But when the air gets humid, the scales absorb moisture and close. A closed pine cone is a silent alarm for upcoming rain. Ancient humans used these tiny indicators to plan their daily movements. You might feel a similar instinct when you see ants moving indoors. It is that same ancient awareness that kept our ancestors alive. Even cows have a reputation for predicting the coming rain. Folklore says that cows lie down when a storm is brewing. Scientists think they do this to keep a dry patch of grass, or perhaps high humidity simply makes them feel more sluggish. Either way, our ancestors noticed every single change in animal behavior. They even used crickets as literal thermometers in the summer heat. Dolbear's law shows you can calculate temperature by counting cricket chirps. Count the chirps in 15 seconds and add 40 to the total. Our ancestors didn't need a mercury tube to know it was hot. They just listened to the rhythm of the forest floor. This is why you find nature sounds so relaxing today. Your brain is still trying to listen for those survival cues. We often mock old wives' tales as simple superstitions, but many of these sayings are based on actual atmospheric physics. Take the famous rhyme about the red sky at night. A red sunset means the sun is shining through high-pressure dust. In many regions, weather moves from the west to the east. If the west is clear, then tomorrow will likely be beautiful. But a red sunrise means that clear air has already passed you. A low-pressure storm system is likely following right behind it. Our ancestors didn't know about Rayleigh's scattering of light, but they knew exactly what those colors meant for their ships. The same goes for the ring around the moon. That halo is caused by light hitting ice crystals in high clouds. Those clouds are the leading edge of an approaching warm front. If you see a moon halo, rain or snow is usually coming. Our ancestors were reading the physics of light without a textbook. This deep connection to the Earth began to shift in the 17th century. Humans wanted to quantify the invisible forces of the air. Evangelista Torricelli invented the barometer in 1643. For the first time, we could see the weight of the atmosphere. Then Daniel Fahrenheit gave us a standardized way to measure heat. But the biggest leap came with the invention of the telegraph. Before the telegraph, weather news moved as fast as a horse. If a storm was coming, you didn't know until it hit your neighbor. But with the telegraph, data could travel faster than the wind. A person in one city could warn the next town over. This was the birth of the modern weather warning system. It changed us from reactive observers to proactive planners. This is why you get anxious when your phone doesn't have signal. You are cut off from the global warning system our ancestors built. Yet even with our supercomputers, we still have much to learn. Indigenous cultures have maintained forecasting methods for thousands of years. The Inuit in the Arctic read the texture of the clouds. They can predict a blizzard by looking at wind drifts on snow. These are subtle cues that our digital sensors often miss. Polynesian navigators crossed thousands of miles of open ocean without maps. They read the pulses of bioluminescence in the deep water. They watched the flight patterns of seabirds to find distant storms. In the Pacific, the people of Vanuatu monitor mango trees. The flowering of the trees predicts the severity of cyclone season. This is traditional ecological knowledge that science is finally respecting. Our ancestors weren't just guessing about the future. They were part of a giant conversation with the natural world. They understood that everything is connected through the atmosphere. When the air changed, their whole bodies responded to it. This is why your joints might ache when the pressure drops. You aren't just getting old or being dramatic. Your body is remembering a time when that ache saved your life. It was the signal to find a cave and huddle for warmth. It was the reminder that we are small compared to the sky. We have spent thousands of years trying to master the weather. We have launched satellites and built massive computer models. We have turned the mystery of the storm into a percentage. But we still feel that ancient pull when the wind picks up. We still stop to look at a particularly vibrant sunset. We still feel a sense of peace when the crickets start chirping. You are not malfunctioning because you feel the weather deeply. You are simply remembering what it means to be a human. You are the descendant of people who knew how to read the clouds. You are part of a lineage that survived every storm history threw at us. Next time you check your app, take a moment to look up too. The sky is still speaking the same language it always has. You just have to remember how to listen to the horizon. You were never going to ignore the coming rain. If you enjoyed this trip through our atmospheric history, subscribe to The Ancient Why. We explore the deep roots of our modern lives every single week. Keep your eyes on the sky and stay curious.